if we don't call it early and he wins anyway, which is perfectly possible, but without us tonight, think about that.
I think this episode is a tour de force performance for Kieran Culkin. I mean, this is the culmination of this character. Everything he did was completely believable to me, and he's just steamrolling everyone. And it convinced me he is truly his father's successor, I think, in this episode. I thought he did just the performance was so great. And just you see he is not only stronger willed than Shiv and Kendall, he is also more skilled than they are. And it's just like, it's kind of just amazing to see him completely like steamroll and basically annihilate them.
I completely agree with you in that I thought a lot in this episode about that quote Shiv said to Logan in their last conversation in the karaoke bar, where she says, like, you just say things and then people agree with you, or you bully them and it becomes true. And then you say, see, I was right. And like how infuriating that is to her. And you can totally see Roman very effectively doing the same thing.
Does the grown-ups table be serious?
This is serious. Ballots get lost every election. You can't get burnt ballots back.
He mocks any line of questioning of fact or reason thrown in his direction and just like steamrolls into what he wants everyone to say and believe, which in this case is that it doesn't actually matter, that they do have the right and the power to declare the next president of the United States, and that they should use that power because they want to be someone who's in the pocket of the leader of America. And it is chilling to see him flicker between that sort of like nihilism and like sociopathy to then like, I saw it a lot in his facial expression when Kendall says, like, one of those guys pushed Sophie. And you see Roman's face for a second be like, is she okay? I saw that as like, if Kendall had said anything but yes, maybe Roman might have wavered a little bit more in that moment. But like, all Roman wanted was for Kendall to reassure him, like, but that's not actually a big deal. And then Kendall does. And then it just enables Roman further to be like, yeah, see, it doesn't matter. Like, fuck your family, fuck the children.
All that matters is that we get ours, you know? But yeah, it is. He's just so badgering of every single person in the show. Like, no, whether it's him like being on the floor of the place, or him talking to Shiv, or him talking to Ken, he's just badgering everyone, talking to Tom, and he's just going to get his way no matter what. And if he doesn't, he's going to exhaust you until he does. You know, and it's just a really, really effective performance.
Past elections, Milwaukee overwhelmingly votes Democrat,
but you don't actually know. Sure.
It's very much a three-way tug of war. Shiv is going in one direction, Roman's going the other, and Kendall's kind of in the middle. I still don't know how I feel about it, because Kendall was so like, hot to trot last episode and eager and ready to go and fight. But I guess we're supposed to think that his family being harassed like has given him pause about his current path. And he wants to have it both ways. He wants to have a pluralistic future with Jimenez, but also have Mencken kill the deal. And so he's stuck between those two outcomes.
He's overly focused on just keeping the company from Matsson.
What's happening is happening. I'm a realist.
In whatever fashion he needs to. And he almost seems to be thinking of this election as like, well, I don't really care too much. So really the deciding factor is who's going to do what I want, which is let me keep daddy's business.
Yeah, and it's like if Jimenez had said, "Sure, we'll look into it,"
he probably would have been more okay.
He probably would have been like, "Yeah, that's fine. Yes, let's kill the Mencken thing."
Again, Jeremy Strong just I think does an incredible job of. He brings this physicality to Kendall's state of mind.
Yeah,
at any point,
he's very hunched over this episode, very like weak looking this episode. Yeah.
Well, sometimes, but then like. When he figures out Shiv lied to him, you see him snap into like shoulders back, I'm my dad, like do the Logan Roy intimidation thing. Whereas like my heart was really breaking for him when he was in sort of like what I almost call like puppy dog mode, where he gets very like his face is so much more open and sad, and he's
his head is like down. It's like almost into his neck, a little bit.
Yeah,
he's like leaning. He's like hunched forward. Yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of goes. I forget what prompts him to be talking to Shiv exactly in that moment, but it's when she tells him like, "You're a good person. Like that's why you want to back Jimenez. Like that's why you want to stop Mencken because you're a good guy."
Yeah.
And you see that land for him. He has so badly wanted to be a good guy and like wanted to be liked and admired by people for this entire series. And you can tell that he really struggles with actually believing that about himself. Like, Logan really did a number on him, plus his own actions. But it's also very common for people who are struggling with like addiction and also depression. Like, we know that Kendall's been the most overtly suicidal character on the show, going up to the roof often. And by the end of the episode, you see that they've installed like more glass basically, because you assume that his father's watching him or having people watch him to make sure that he doesn't hurt himself. And so that, like, having that deep belief that you might actually be a bad person and there's nothing you can do to redeem that about yourself, like, so you might as well just keep doing bad things. Like, that's what I felt Kendall went through in this episode, where he had a moment where he could have chosen to stick with Shiv, could have chosen to truly try to protect his family in a way that's much more tangible than just sending a car to follow them around, right? Like, at least both emotionally, but also in a very real, global impacting kind of way. And so it felt sad to me that this episode felt more like a final blow to Kendall's ability to rise above what he believes about himself.
Okay? We can pay for any damages. Let's just jam our fucking heads in the bosom of history and just...
Kendall decides to back Roman, and Mencken is declared the winner of the election. It's a chilling idea. Roman is the real winner here, and he is clearly the winner of the Game of Thrones, and it's actually, I would be impressed if I wasn't so scared of him. The thing I wanted to point out is I think this episode is Succession at its most didactic, which is very odd. Like, it's generally not that didactic, but there's a scene where Roman's like, yeah, nothing really matters. And then Shiv says, things matter, Roman.
Made a night of good TV. That's what we've done. Nothing happens.
Things do happen.
And it's like, it feels like the show is being really earnest at that point, and it's weird. It's like unbecoming of the show almost. But it's almost like Jesse Armstrong was like, I really need you to understand what my point is here. You know, you can't miss my point here.
I definitely felt like I was supposed to be taking something away from this episode. that I haven't already from real American elections.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that it did. I think maybe I still haven't quite landed all the way on that, other than it just felt like I was watching a failure of people to be brave enough to stand up to their own circle at a time when they should have. It's like the buildup to this episode was me deeply understanding and like rooting for different people's emotional needs depending on how the episode went, and then all of them coming into conflict in this like perfect storm of every single person on that chain failing to rise above.
People were saying, oh, you know, this episode with Mattson, I think it was episode 5 or what, when they go to Norway, where Roman confronts Mattson, they're like, this is Kieran Culkin's Emmy reel, you know? And it's like, for me, what Kieran Culkin did in this episode was far more impressive.
Yeah.
It's not as showy, but it is really intense and just a culmination of everything that this character has been building towards. You compare this character to season 1, episode 1, it is like a complete transformation where he's still like nihilistic, I think, in both episodes that I just referred to, but he has honed his skills to such an extent that he can run this whole place and steamroll over anyone who doesn't have the will or the skill to match him. And it's a truly chilling performance. I loved it. It makes the episode for me. Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.